Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to welcome our 2021 inductees. In the athlete category, for tennis, the late Brendan Mackin, represented by his daughters Nancy and Helen. In the builder category, for girls hockey and lacrosse, Colin Graham. In the builder category, for girls softball, Lois Thompson. In the athlete category, for hockey, Steve Vickers. Well, welcome everyone. I am so happy and excited to be standing in front of all of you in person to come together to this evening of celebration. Folks, it's hard to believe it's been 2 years since we were all together. And thank you very much for joining us tonight. You'll notice this year our inductees were piped in virtually by the outstanding band at St. Andrew's College. We had to exercise caution and forgo the actual pipers. As you all know, piping is a very windy instrument. But not to worry, folks. The St. Andrew's College pipers will be back next year. I would like to start by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples whose presence here continues to this day. Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty First Nations. We acknowledge and thank them for sharing the land with us. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and of how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Folks, as you were told when you entered tonight, we are still under COVID-19 restrictions, and we ask that all guests please wear their masks indoors unless eating, drinking, or taking photos. So I ask that while we are seated here tonight, please keep your mask on as much as possible. Our speakers will be removing their masks as they step up to the podium to make their address and take their photos. Established in 2013 by Sport Aurora, the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame is a celebration of sport history and excellence dedicated to the recognition of the important place that sport has assumed with the fabric in our community. It's not just celebrating these athletes, these builders, and these coaches. It's also the opportunity for their stories to inspire future generations in our community to want to participate in sport. They can chase their dreams, and if they work hard enough, they can be successful at whatever they do. The Aurora Sports Hall of Fame is also a place of education, with more than 90 artifacts to showcase how far our inductees have come, and a place of community where young and not so young gather to share and appreciate Aurora's rich cultural and heritage. Folks, to date we have inducted 34 outstanding athletes, coaches, and builders, and are excited to add another 4 to the wall. Now I would like to call Tony Van Bynen, Member of Parliament for Newmarket Aurora, but for tonight he's Aurora Newmarket, to give some words of welcome. MP Van Bynen.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to offer my congratulations to Lois Thompson, Colin Graham, Stephen Vickers, and posthumously Brenda Macken on your introduction to the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Brenda and Stephen into the athlete category, and Lois and Colin as builders. We have long recognized that sport builds character, develops a spirit of competition, a sense of belonging through the connection with the team, confidence through accomplishments, and pride through individual and collective accomplishments. So as you become members and join the 34 outstanding athletes, coaches, and builders already inducted, I hope that you do so with a remarkable sense of pride and the knowledge of the positive and lasting impact that you have had on youth, community, and sport in Aurora. You have indeed contributed to the rich social fabric of this community and have helped make Aurora a great place to live. And for me, that's a good thing to say. To the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame, congratulations on another remarkable evening as you recognize the outstanding individuals and their important contribution to sport in Aurora. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MP Van Vinen, for those words of welcome, and we appreciate you being with us tonight. Part of our success is the fabulous relationship we have developed as one of the Town of Aurora's cultural partners. Continued thanks to Council and town staff for their support of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. We are honored to have a few of our Town of Aurora officials with us tonight. Mayor Tom Marakis, Councillor Sandra Humphreys, and Councillor Rachel Gilliland. At this time, I'd like to introduce Aurora Mayor Tom Marakis to say a few words. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Javed. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be at this ceremony celebrating the 2021 Aurora Sports Hall of Fame inductees. This celebration highlights the achievements and hard work of each inductee and their contributions to sport. Thank you to the event organizers and to the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame Induction Committee for selecting this well-admired and respected list of athletes. On behalf of the residents of the town of Aurora and Aurora Town Council, I'd like to extend my congratulations to the inductees for this distinguished honor. Your pursuit of excellence, commitment, and passion for your sport gives inspiration to our youth. This exhibit shows many examples of what can be achieved with hard work and perseverance, and it gives our youth hope and confidence that they can find success in sports. So thank you for your inspiration and the significant mark that you have made in Aurora's sporting history. By honoring your sporting achievements at the Sports Hall of Fame, your story will last a lifetime in our town. Please enjoy tonight's celebration, everyone, honoring all of our inductees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Marakis. The success of tonight's event and all of our programs for the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame cannot be made possible without the tremendous work from our awesome volunteers and from our one staff member, Lisa McDonald. I'd like to take this opportunity and recognize our volunteer Board of Governors. Please hold your applause until I finish recognizing everyone. Honored member Alan Dean, Kristen Desjardins, Steve Forsey, me, Jerry Miller, Mayor Tom Marakis, Bob McRoberts, The Voice, Robin McDougall, Brian Roberts, and David Tom. And of course, folks, a huge thank you to Courtney Cassidy of Cassidy Event Management and her team, Heather DeSanto, Sally Denolmi, Carol Bartlett, Melanie T, and Lisa McDonald. Courtney has been amazing, helping us navigate through all the COVID-19 protocols and is the master behind last night's and tonight's event experience. Also, thank you to our charter donors who have been part of this organization from the very beginning, when there really wasn't an Aurora Sports Hall of Fame whatsoever. It was just an idea. Thanks to Magna, Town of Aurora, Seneca College, Pace Credit Union, and St. Andrews College. Our other event sponsors will be shown throughout the evening and are listed in your program guide on page number 29. Please do take a moment to note these sponsors and thank them for their support, especially those who are with us this evening. And I want to thank you for being part of our premier event. I hope that everyone had a chance to place some bids on the silent auction sponsored by McAlpine Ford Lincoln, and please check back throughout the evening. You will get a warning on your phone when bidding closes, so not to worry. Now, folks, if you haven't signed in to check out the auction item, simply text in capital SPORTS, S-P-O-R-T-S, in capital, to 647-699-1775. And you'll get into the site. Is that? Repeat? Sure. Capital SPORTS, S-P-O-R-T-S, to the number 647-699-1775. Also, we have a beautiful piece of jewelry circulating tonight, being modeled by an outstanding member of our Induction Celebration Dinner Committee, local author Melanie T. Don't miss the chance to purchase a ticket donated by our friends at Van & Bosch Jewelers. Thank you to Jonathan Van & Bosch for his continued donation. The draw will take place later this evening. This year, we have partnered with our friends at Music Aurora and are responsible for showcasing the live entertainment, which is sponsored by Del Manor Aurora. What a great performance we had by Lola Thompson during the Marche dinner reception. We'll have more food and drink and celebrations, so I hope you join us in the next room for cocktails and some dessert afterwards to raise a celebratory glass to our newest honored members. And we'll have live entertainment by guitarist Bill Nadeau. Thank you again, Music Aurora and Del Manor Aurora, for bringing live entertainment to tonight's event. I want to share an exciting new project called Heroes of the Hall that was spearheaded by board member Kristen Desjardins and project manager Karen Merck. It is such a great outreach and education program that we are all proud of. Schools across Aurora are now, or will be soon, proud owners of a series of original comic books. Each of the 4 sports stories has themes of resilience and optimism from honored members Brian Stemmel, Cal Bouchard, Greg Hoffa, and Marquise. The 5th story summarizes the history of lacrosse in our area, as told by Ton Paulus, the Six Nations Indigenous lacrosse historian. The book is a resource for teaching literacy and Canadian sports culture to all ages, and through grant monies, we delivered a class set to each school in Aurora. Let's check out the video.
Hi, I'm Kristen Daja. I'm the chair of the Education Committee of the Aurora Sport Hall of Fame. And today is a great day as we put together our new comic book resource. We have all our honored members here to volunteer, helping us put these packages together for the schools. Every school in Aurora is going to receive a comic book. And this comic book is a literacy resource meant to help teach children how to speak English. It's meant for schools, for newcomers, and for our senior citizens in Aurora. And a big thank you to the federal government and the New Horizons for Seniors grant for making this possible. And again, it's a fantastic day as all our honored members came out for our great comic book launch.
You know, folks, we are so blessed to have such engaged, honored members. They're always willing to help. Every quarter, we have an honored member hour call with them for 1 hour and just give them updates in terms of what is happening with the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame, and of asks to provide either content for our social media channels, or as you saw, to volunteer some of their time. You saw in the video honored member Jim Clark, Alan Dean, Alex Ansel, Ben Steenhurst, and his wife was there with him, Bob Bain, and Lola Clenny. So thank you for the honored members to be there that day. We also want to thank our portrait artist Paul Riley for bringing the comic book series to life with his incredible, awesome drawings. And we do have the comic book here tonight. You can purchase it just for a simple toonie, and funds will go to our education program. So if you get a moment, please look out for the comic book afterwards. For one simple toonie, you get a historic piece of material. What was originally meant to engage the citizens of Aurora in telling the sports stories of the past, the project will now be extended as a published series for many years to come. So again, I want to thank Kristen, Karen, Paul, and all those honored members involved. It's now my pleasure to introduce a man that really needs no introduction. We know him well, award-winning sports broadcaster and almost Aurora resident, almost. Please join me in welcoming our Master of Ceremonies, sponsored by McLaren Doors. Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Black.
Almost. How is everybody? Oh my goodness. I had this made for tonight. Hey, sexy. But I don't even need it. That's good. Because it is a golden night. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see anybody, isn't it? I think it's been a pandemic since we last saw each other. It's been a long time. It should be the 9th annual awards, but it's the 8th, as we know. And things are a lot different than they were a couple of years ago when we last gathered at St. Andrews College. Of course, we got a new venue now. At that time, we could hug, which I like to do. Can't hug right now. We'll hug again someday. We didn't have to wear masks. I would say bank robberies are up right now, probably, in many ways. Gas, remember gas was an ungodly 85 cents a liter. Ungodly. 2 years ago, which was a long time ago, it seems. And we didn't get into binge watching. We were a lot different at that time. But now things have changed a lot. 2 years later, we've got this new venue, which is terrific. Some things have not changed, of course. We're here celebrating the Aurora Sports Hall of Famers. We can still fist pump. Yeah, you can still fist pump. We can still get gas. It's about $1.40, I think, at this time. The Leafs still haven't won a playoff round. It's so appropriate that Steve Vickers is being inducted in tonight. Who's playing who tonight? The Leafs and the Rangers. Yeah, there it goes. Let's go Rangers. We'll wait till your speech, then we'll wait. But yeah, and it's just so nice. One thing that hasn't changed, of course, is sports and our love of sports. And it's been so sad that for many of our kids, many of us, we've been unable to participate as we have had in the past. And so tonight is a great celebration because we are coming out of this thing finally. Mayor Tom Brackes, could you just stand up for one moment? I love this man. First of all, look at that tie. Turn around, just show that tie. Look at that. There you go, eh? That's what happens during the pandemic. You had to share clothing. So it is a month for purple as well, and men's health as well. And how many mustaches? You can't even see mustaches right now. So, but again, everything is good again, and we are celebrating sports. Nice to see all of you. Jim Clark, good to see you. There's my buddy Jimmy Clark, and I know I love seeing the Stemmels and Murph's here and Kitch. Javed Khan, thank you. Finally, a president that people like. Okay? And he's so cute. He's such a cute guy. Look, here he is. And he dresses very slickly. And it's so good that the hall continues to forge on and do great things. And it's so good that you see it at Sark and you get a chance to walk in now and you see the celebration of sports. And it's so important for our kids to see that as well. I know I got my son Jesse here tonight. He's my date there. Jesse, there he is. He has the hair that I used to have. There he is. I know he walks into Sark or plays there, and it's nice to see that those kids get a chance to go see who came before them and represent this community and what they have done through the years to make sport so important. So tonight's going to be a special night of celebration, which we're going to do tonight. And as usual, we not only celebrate the past, we celebrate the present, but we celebrate the future. And every year at the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame, we celebrate our Future Hall of Famer Awards, and that's how we're going to start tonight. So this initiative is designed to showcase and support two exceptional athletes, sponsored by Smith Rogers Financial, and last night at the VIP meet and greet, we had a chance to congratulate these outstanding athletes. We'd also like to thank the Optimist Club of Aurora and Lindsay Strom of Royal LePage, RCR Realty for providing the student bursaries. I'm sure many of you are parents or grandparents and you know how costly it can be to put your kids in sports. That's a story for another day. We're going to change that too. Let's hope the pandemic changes that, where every kid has an opportunity equally, and not where it costs the parents a lot of money to play. So here they are. Here they are. I'll introduce them and tell a little bit about them. First of all, Jake Cowden is a grade 12 academic honor roll student at Aurora High School and a Stars Canadian National Senior Champion, an athlete who enjoys speed. Jake also excels at downhill skiing, where he finished third in the YRAA Championships, and Ice Oval Snowmobile Racing Championship, where he won 2 title races in 2020. Among his outstanding athletic feats, Jake also hosts an annual fundraising campaign for the Alzheimer's Society of York Region and is nearing his 2021 goal of $10,000. This year, to further his athletic career, he has joined Britain West Motorsport as the driver for their number 66 Mygale Honda for the Toy Tires F1600 Championship season. Just watch your speed on Wellington. I know where the radar traps are, Jake. So he's going to come up in a moment. Congratulations to Jake. Michaela Leo is a local athlete who excels at hockey and accepted an athletic scholarship to play for the NCAA Division I Holy Cross Crusaders in Worcester, Massachusetts, a member of the academic honor roll at Villanova College in King City. Michaela also excels at volleyball, basketball, soccer, track, and field. She played for a number of years for the elite Toronto Arrows hockey organization, currently volunteers to help young girls learn the game, which is so important. In 2020, she signed to play with the Durham West Lightning in the PWHL, the highest level of minor hockey for girls in Ontario. So let's hear it for Michaela Leo and Jake Cowden, our future Hall of Famers. I know Michaela is at school in the U.S. right now, can't be here tonight. I want to call Mike Smith and Michaela's parents, to Marcelo and Antonella to come up, and Jake Cowden to come up as well to accept this great, great honor. Our future Hall of Fame award winners. All right, can't wait to see Michaela on the ice, cannot wait to see Jake on the oval, racing. Jake, you have also won Mike Smith's car. Yeah. Get that. Just got two of them already. Congratulations. Also, let's hear it for them, the future Hall of Famers. That's awesome. So if you were at last night's VIP meet and greet, we were also able to thank many sponsors of the event. You've seen a lot of them up on the screens in your sponsor books. This event would not go on without the sponsors, quite obviously. The meet and greet sponsor, including last night, was huge. That night before event is so great. I wish I could have been there last night, but at St. Andrews College, my daughter is playing in West Side Story, so get to see that over the next couple of nights. It's a terrific play. We'd like to thank Scott Harris of Stonehaven Financial Group for their leadership and stepping up for the VIP meet and greet. Scott, if we can just have you come up and accept our gratitude. I'd give you a hug, I can't, but let's hear it for Scott Harris from Stonehaven.
Thanks very much. It's an honor to be inducted into... different speech, sorry. I've been preparing for this for a long time. Stonehaven's been involved in the Aurora Hall for about 5 years, and there's many faces in here that I didn't think would ever be here, and they're eating popcorn. We are very pleased to be involved in this. It's so great to have such a legacy in this community, such a strong sporting communities. Sports can unite us. Sports can teach us so many things about our lives outside of that. You're going to hear that more from the people that deserve to be up here. We are very happy to be here. Stonehaven is a team that's been involved in families for generations. And my teammate Rob Wismer's in the back, and I told him he had to come speak, and he made me do this. So thanks again for having us. Rod, you're doing a great job, and thanks to all the people at the hall.
Yeah, keep sponsoring that VIP meet and greet. You will get in the hall. Trust me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you to all the sponsors. Let's give a great big round of applause to all of our sponsors. Okay, we're almost getting to the meat of the night, which is the induction ceremony. But we also have some other very special guests with us tonight. You might have seen these folks acting as ushers earlier on tonight, and they're volunteering, and of course they're all athletes from the area, which is what it's all about, really. So I want to introduce Connor Van Wheely and Nolan Boyd from the Aurora Tigers, Charlie Bentley, a grade 12 student and York Region Junior tennis champion, Natalie Merlin, a under 15 windmill pitching rep from the Diggers softball team. Lois, you'll like that. And Carly Baker, Aurora Panthers alumni. And I'd like to ask the 4 pages to come up to the stage. We're also pleased to have a couple of other athletes who will join us as well. Like I said, they will be helping us all night long, so they will help out in a moment. How it's going to work is we are going to announce the inductee, and again, when you come up, we have a speech, we have the video. It's going to be a lot of fun. Try to keep it with, we don't have a band to play you off. There was a bit of a time limit. It's changed a little bit since then. Colin, you're going to have to know that. It's okay, you're great. I've interviewed you on the Zoom, you were awesome. This isn't like the Squid Game where you get terminated or anything. This is like, you're gonna be like, get up here and it's gonna be fun. And we're gonna have a great time. So also, maybe if you wanna do a little dance, feel like you can dance if you like. But it is a night of induction and celebration. So we're gonna start off, our first tonight is someone who is not with us, but certainly is with us in spirit, and as a sports announcer, and a tennis announcer at one time, I would have appreciated being around this man when it was a lot easier to pronounce than Denis Shapovalov, or Felix Auger-Aliassime, or Milos Raonic, or you go on and on and on, because it was a little simpler back then. But it didn't mean that the game did not mean as much. It is a game of love, and this man had an incredible love for the game. And the name may have been a little simpler, but the name was a great name in its time. And before all of those tennis players that I mentioned, he was one of the most prominent in our country. So if you take a look at your video screens, our first inductee tonight is the late Brendan Mackin.
It all began in Dublin at the ancient Chaville Tennis Club when James Mackin met Margaret Burns when they played against each other. They collected over 50 trophies between them before they married and moved to Canada. Brendan Hubert Mackin was born in Montreal on January 21st, 1923. Margaret encouraged her children to play tennis, and young Brendan played in a junior program at the Mount Royal Tennis Club.
Going through his trophies, discovered one from when he was 16, so I think it was the early teen years that he started entering tournaments and winning the tournaments. Again, he struggled with his health. When he was 18, 19 years old, he had scarlet fever and rheumatic fever and ended up with a heart murmur. But in those times, there wasn't much for them, so he was told, the doctors told him, go home, be comfortable, you don't have long to live. So after 6 months of bed rest, here was a teenager that they couldn't keep in bed, and so he was back out hitting tennis balls and on the tennis courts and winning tournaments. And it was because of his poor health, he had trouble staying in university, kept withdrawing because of his health, that he ended up in a tournament in Toronto, met some players and coaches from the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, and ended up down there. And that's when his tennis really took off with the team and the coach, Sharby Umbach. He mentioned years and years later, really turning the tide and his career taking off from there.
When Dad played intercollegiate down at William and Mary, he played with some well-known names. Tony Travert, who won Wimbledon, was one of the fellows that Dad traveled around with. And at the time, Pancho Segura was their coach, and Pancho ended up becoming Jimmy Connor's coach. So Dad was involved with quite a few players that went on to do quite well. And I think the level of competition really got him going.
Mackin caught the attention of players from Virginia's College of William and Mary when he won the Toronto Cricket Club Invitation Tennis Tournament in 1944. It was a good move for him. Aside from playing tennis, he was class president and chief aide to the school president, which gave him the opportunity to meet visiting prominent figures such as President and First Lady Truman and Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson and his wife. Soon after that, he met Winston Churchill, but more importantly, he met Elizabeth Gillam, his future wife. During his time there, he also coached and taught physical education. In 1946, Brendan and his brother Jim won the Canadian Open men's doubles, and Brendan was ranked Canada's top male tennis player. He faced Kurt Nielsen at Wimbledon. In fact, from 1946 until 1955, Mackin ranked top 3 in 9 out of the 10 years, taking Canada's top-ranked male tennis player title in 1948, 1950, and 1952.
Definitely one of the things that I remember him saying the most was that in those days you played tennis for the love of the game. There was no money in it. So you paid your own travel expenses, you paid for your own clothing, your own rackets. So again, if you were playing tournaments on different sides of the country, you were paying for the love of the game. So I remember that to a T. And he was just such a social guy that not so much a saying that I remember him, but win or lose, he was always smiling. He always had a real friendly greeting for someone who had just beaten him or someone he had defeated. So it was kind of that sportsmanlike attitude that I remember from him. Yeah. I think a sign that he was very competitive is in the day there was no such thing as a tiebreaker. So matches went on until somebody won by 2 games. So a number of his matches were more than 5 hours long, where he'd be down at one point, up at one point, down at one point, up at one point, but he was determined to win it and to close it out. So one of those matches was the one in his Davis Cup play against Billy Sidwell, and I think the match was 4.5 hours, again, because he was so determined to win.
That particular match was televised by CBC, and my grandmother threw her hat onto the court after Dad won.
Returning to Canada in 1950, he won the Canadian Open men's singles, defeating Henri Rochon in the final. Mackin and Lorne Main won the Canadian Open men's doubles in 1951. In 1952, Mackin pulled off an upset, defeating Mexican Fernando Lamas in 5 sets. The victory advanced the Canadians to the Davis Cup final. Mackin was a Davis Cup member from 1946 until 1952 and in 1954. Mackin and his young family moved to Toronto in 1966. He coached at York University, where his teams did exceptionally well, defeating the powerhouse team of the University of Toronto. In 1968, Mackin joined Canada's Gordon Trophy team for players over the age of 45. He was inducted into the Canadian Tennis Hall of Fame in 1991 in their inaugural induction year.
No, my dad liked to win. I think the way, if he was in a tournament, he was in it to win, or play his absolute best. But when he played club tennis, which happened in later years, He still wanted to win, but he wanted to make it fun. And he would often play with players that were not as good as him, but he would make the game fun. So he didn't have to hit a winner. He'd try to keep the game going for them. But definitely, I would say he had a very strong competitive spirit.
Mackin played tennis well into his 80s. He was inducted onto the Toronto Cricket, Skating and Curling Club Wall of Fame in 2004. In 2010, Brendan and Elizabeth moved to Aurora. Mackin was most proud of his wife, their 5 children, and their grandchildren. After spending his last years in Aurora, Brendan Hubert Mackin passed away on March 12, 2020.
Hard thing about losing Dad at the beginning of the pandemic was not being able to celebrate his life with a large group. And this is kind of giving us an opportunity to do that, and that makes it all the more special to have him inducted to the Aurora Hall of Fame.
Anyway, Dad, you deserve it. We wish you were here, and we actually think you're smiling at us right now.
And Dad, congratulations on your induction into the Aurora Hall of Fame. I know you would be immensely proud and that you're up there having a tennis hit with our brother Bren Jr. So all the best to all of you.
And now, in recognition of his achievements in the sport of tennis, we are proud to welcome Mr. Brendan Hubert Mackin as part of the 2021 class of inductees into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, what an amazing man, what a life well served and lived. I'd like to call on the presenting sponsor from New Roads Automotive Group, either Jim Van Dusen or Michael Croxon, to come on stage to help with the presentation. We'll get our pages as well up, and I'd like to call upon Nancy and Helen, who you saw in that video, to welcome Brendan Mackin into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Why don't we get a few pictures? We'll do that first. How about that video? Some of the footage. That's when they used wood rackets too. And they still hit it so hard and so great. What an amazing story. Okay. The official green sweater. Well, Pops would be proud. Once again, our inductee, Brendan Mackin, and to honor his legacy.
Hello, my name is Helen Conzelman, and I'm the youngest of Bren Mackin's daughters. My sisters decided that I was the best fit to acknowledge Dad's induction here tonight, but I'm not quite sure how that decision was made. As none of us are public speakers, I do believe maybe I got the short straw. So bear with me, I'm quite nervous. I will do the best I can. We would like to thank the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame Committee for honoring our dad, Javid, Stephen, Helena, Alicia, Melanie, Courtney, and all of the other volunteers. You have been so enthusiastic about this event, and Dad would have enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you. So many thanks. Thank you to Josie and Mark Slack, sorry, my apologies, for not taking the time to nominate Dad. He enjoyed every lunch he had with you at the Symposium Cafe, and you always made him feel like a very special customer. So thank you again, and thank you for listening to the stories. Thank you to all the corporate sponsors who make the evening possible. When I heard New Roads Automotive was a specific sponsor for Dad's induction tonight, I decided to find out a bit more about the company. I was surprised to find out that one of the founders of New Roads was Nhl Rookie. Well, Dad and Nhl Rookie had been fellow members of the North Scarborough Rotary Club back in the 70s and 80s. Dad bought many cars from Nhl Rookie, including his last Buick, which he drove until he gave up his license in 2013. I was also sad to learn that Nhl passed away in October, so perhaps he and Dad are watching from up above, having a drink together. So a very special thank you to New Roads Automotive. Dad would have been thrilled to be recognized for his success as a tennis player, but he would have been even more excited to be the center of attention again. Dad was a very social guy. But you heard Dad died when he was 97 years old, when he passed away on March 12, 2020. 2 days later, Ontario entered its first COVID lockdown, and so we were unable to host the celebration of his life. This makes tonight even more special, and we thank the town of Aurora for giving us the opportunity to celebrate Dad and share some of his stories. When Dad started playing tennis, men were just beginning to wear shorts instead of wear long pants. Women were finally able to wear skirts above the knee without long stockings. The rackets were made of wood and strung with catgut. Tennis balls were white and came in a cardboard box. So the speed of the game was very different in Dad's era. Winning players had to have a good variety of shots. I'm not sure what Dad's best shots were, whether it was his serve, his ground stroke, his volley, but I do know that he enjoyed winning a point with a little drop shot. Even when he would tell stories of matches that he had played many years before, he would get a little twinkle in his eye when he remembered winning a match, a point, whatever, with a little drop shot. Travel was different in Dad's era as well. Passenger flights were just becoming popular. So Dad and his teammates would often travel by train, bus, or car. In 1947, the College of William and Mary team traveled from Williamsburg, Virginia, to Los Angeles, California for the NCAA tournament finals. That trip would have taken days, not just hours. Another trip took Dad and the Davis Cup team down to Mexico City for match play, but my favorite travel story is of Dad getting to Wimbledon, England in 1951. This trip was by steamship. He sailed with fellow Canadians Lauren Main and Henri Rochelle on board a Canadian Pacific Ocean liner, the Empress of Scotland. This was one of the fastest ocean liners of the day, but the trip still took the better part of a week. The boys didn't have much money and would be staying in boarding houses during their trip. They had packed a large smoked ham, which they thought would help them with meals while they were spending time in England. They were very surprised when the owner of the very first boarding house served the entire thing for breakfast the very first morning of their stay. I don't think today's tennis stars have quite the same concerns as they did back then. Dad started playing tennis on the local courts with his brother Jim and his sister Pat while growing up in Westmount, Quebec. At 18 years old, Dad developed scarlet fever and rheumatic fever. He tried to start studying at McGill University 3 years in a row, but was forced to withdraw each time because of poor health. As you heard, the doctors told his parents, make him comfortable, he won't live a long life. But after a lot of bed rest, he was eager to get out on the courts again, and we're glad he did. Tennis took him down to college in Virginia, where he met our mom, Libby Gillen, from New Jersey. Again, short of cash, he had a job delivering laundry to her sorority house when she agreed to go out with him. They married in 1950, and very soon 5 children followed. When Dad won the Canadian singles title in 1950, his prize was a fishing rod, which we still have today and has never been used. At the time, there was little prize money in tennis, and Dad now had a family to support. So by 1954, he stopped competing on the international level. He began work as a salesman, first for Seagram's, then for Montreal Buick, and eventually moving to Thornhill and starting his own company in industrial equipment sales. But that doesn't mean he stopped competing, and he continued to play as many club, provincial, and national tournaments as he could, well into his 70s. There were many times we'd be sitting at home with the car packed, ready to start a family vacation, and Dad would get into the finals, so our trip would have to wait. It was very hard to cheer for him in those days. Mom and Dad finally downsized to the Ridgewood condo building on John Westley in 2010. Aurora felt like home immediately, and the new condo building provided a new audience for all his tennis stories. If you passed by Mom and Dad sitting on their patio, you weren't getting by without hearing a story. 1, 2, 3, you were there for a while. So on behalf of my sisters, Nancy, Ginny, Peggy, and 4 of his grandchildren that are here tonight, and all the other family members who were unable to attend, we would like to thank you for inducting our dad into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. And thank you to the town of Aurora for being such a great place for Mom and Dad to spend their final years. They were really very happy here. And finally, congratulations to Lois, Colin, and Steve. To quote from the Aurora town motto, you're in good company.
Thank you, Helen. It's so funny, you look at the video that they were wearing sweaters like that back then when your dad was playing. I liked, if you just for a moment, the Mackin, all the Mackin clan, the Mackin family, if you could all just wait, hold your applause, everybody. Mackin family, come up, stand up. Just want to see you all. Want to see you all? Okay, now sit down. Let's all stand up now for the Mackin family. Congratulations. Oh, wow. It was easy, right? Easy, thank you. Okay, now moving on to our next inductee. And sports is all about athletes, but sports is about volunteers and coaches, fans, and builders. We are not here today without the builders of the foundation that keep the sports community strong. This next inductee has done that for so many years, so many decades. It's unimaginable. I had a chance to chat with him recently, and I could have spoke with him for hours about all the stories. Huge Leaf fan. I'm surprised you're sitting beside Vickers, but that's okay. It's okay. Drop the gloves later. It doesn't matter. Heavily involved in what was Canada's national sport, lacrosse, and bringing it to this area. And I have to thank him because how many of you in here are parents of daughters who are Aurora or now Central York Panthers? There you go. Parents, grandparents, siblings, spouses of former Panthers. Panthers forever. We thank this man for helping build that Panther logo, and the girls wear it with pride. Which is so, when you think about it, I remember growing up, and some silly people somewhere thought the girls couldn't play hockey. How silly were they? Man, can they play, and among the best in the world. Thanks to Colin Graham and what he did for the Aurora Panthers and lacrosse in this community. Welcome to the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Take a look.
Frederick Graham and Pauline White, his war bride, had 8 children, one of whom was Colin Graham, their second eldest, born in England in 1944. The family moved to Canada in 1945. Colin and his wife Bernadette moved from Lake Wilcox to Aurora, and he spent over 30 years as a resident, leader, and builder of sport in our town. Colin began coaching hockey in Aurora in 1968 until 1971, and then took a short break until his 3 children, Jamie, Lynn, and Tracy, got involved with sports. He coached them from 1980 to 1988. Colin was the president of the Aurora Minor Lacrosse Association from 1983 until 1991. While also coaching or managing all the rep teams and establishing an era of excellence in the sport for the Aurora players. The town of Aurora awarded him the Bob Harmon Memorial Award in 1985 for his dedication. The same year, the Aurora Minor Hockey Association recognized him as Coach of the Year.
Colin was a co-host with me for 20 years, I believe it was. The show actually ran from 1982 to 2008, and most of those years, those 20 years, were with Colin, and we had a good thing going there. We really enjoyed each other's company, and we both loved sports in Aurora, especially minor sports. But that led into a situation that allowed us to become involved in other sports like adult sports. It was something that progressively just kept going. I must say that Colin had his heart and soul in minor sports. He was just one of those guys that comes along every once in a while that every association would love to have, because he did things that kept things going, and it was all for the kids, all for kids in sports, and that was Colin Graham.
Colin joined Lola Clenny in 1988 until 2008 to co-host Sports Beat in Aurora, which showcased the achievements of local athletes and inspired them to do better. His love for sports showed. The banter between Colin and Lowell kept Aurora entertained and updated with the latest news in sport.
He had that natural instinct with children, and that was one of the best parts of dealing with kids and having as a co-host. He was really valuable that way. Colin is just a Toronto sports fan. Argos, Leafs, Blue Jays, and I think he even likes the soccer team down there.
Isn't that great, eh? Boy, you're quite a guy, you know. I tell you, you're really you're a smoothie, I'm telling you.
Thank you very much.
You don't get enough credit for what you do,
right.
I'm telling you. Right. I'm serious. You don't believe me. Here I am trying to be serious, folks, and this guy doesn't believe me.
Hey, that's the breaks of a tournament, eh? That's round robin hockey.
No.
Those guys are in such good shape, it should not even have mattered.
No, sir.
Now, don't give me that stuff.
I tell you, you watch it next year, it will be Monday, will be the final game.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, you're the only guy I know that's got an Argo emblem, you got a Maple Leaf emblem, and have you got a Raptors emblem on your license plate?
No, not yet.
No, not yet, but it's coming. What's the other one you got? There's three of them, isn't there?
Jays.
The Jays, how could I? Jays, that's
Okay,
great.
we got to go.
Yeah.
He got involved in a lot of sports. He watched a lot of sports, and he still watches all the major league sports that he can on TV now that he's retired. He still loves all his Toronto teams. In fact, he has a flag that's massive that's got all the different sports teams on it. My dad got us involved, all three of us, involved in lacrosse at a young age, and then for myself, he got me involved with minor hockey. Once I maxed out of the boys hockey, he got me involved in girls hockey. And with that, he started his own team in Aurora, but we called ourselves the York Region Hawks because the girls came from everywhere.
In response to a growing need in girls hockey, Colin Graham founded the York Region Hawks hockey team in 1991, while also serving as treasurer of the North Metro Girls Hockey Association until 2004. He was instrumental in the NMGAJ growing to over 300 teams. In 1993, the Hawks amalgamated with the Aurora Girls Hockey Association. The Aurora Panthers joined the North Metro Girls Hockey Association as a rep team, and Colin created the first Aurora Girls Hockey Association senior team.
He was definitely hands-on. I mean, he did the administrative roles that he had to do in reference to like girls hockey. He became the treasurer of not only just the girls hockey in Aurora, but also the North Metro Girls Hockey Association, which is all of Toronto. That was his behind the scenes. In front of the scenes, he was a coach, he was a manager, he got involved in any kind of, if coaches were missing or trainers were missing, he'd step up to the plate because he had his trainer's card. He just wanted to be involved and be kind of like a role model for kids to look up to.
From 1993 to 2008, Colin coached the Aurora Girls Hockey Association Senior A team, which went on to win a gold medal at the Ontario Women's Hockey Association tournament. The team made 6 national minor girls hockey finals and 5 Ontario women's hockey finals in those years.
Because I played in the House League division, and so he was constantly at the rink, whether it was for the rep system, their House League system. It was all just, it was part of his life.
Colin was one of those people who volunteered, and he had his heart and soul in whatever he volunteered for. He gave it 150%. He never, it was never a case of if something needed to be done, Colin wasn't going to do it. If he asked Colin to be there to do it, he would do it because his heart and soul was in it.
From 1995 to 2002, Colin organized the many memorable AGHA year-end banquets, celebrating the achievements of these players and coaches. From 1998 to 2008, he was chair of discipline for the Aurora Girls Hockey Association. The AGHA later became the Central York Girls Hockey Association. In 2008, Colin was recognized by his peers as the Coach of the Year in girls hockey.
I'm honored to have Colin become part of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. This man has done so much to build hockey and all sports in Aurora that he deserves to be there. Congratulations, Colin. Welcome aboard. Keep it up.
Congratulations, Dad. On behalf of myself, your other children, your wife, and the rest of your family, we're very proud of you. We think this is a great honor that you deserve, well deserved, and you were our biggest fan growing up, and now we are your biggest fan. Congratulations.
And now, in recognition of his contribution to the building of sport, we are proud to welcome Colin Graham as part of the 2021 class of inductees into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame.
Stand up, come on! I just want you and Lowell to do a little sports beat thing up here and talk about the Leafs again. So, Colin, if you don't mind making your way to the stage, I'd like to also call on Aurora Sports Hall of Fame honored member and board member Jerry Miller to come up to present the sweater first, if we could. Then we'll do the black. I don't know how you did not become the replacement for Don Jerry. I mean, I really don't. Or Larry King with those suspenders, but one of the two. We need more sports beats, by the way. That's one thing that we're missing across Canada. Every community, we need that. Take it from a TV guy, but still a TV guy. We in Canada cover pro sports as well as anybody, but I still think we underserve the amateur sports community. And the way that we become inspired to play sometimes is you see your local heroes play on local TV. I'd like to see that change down the road. I think it will for sure. What I love about this man is that you don't get involved in sports to become a member of the Hall of Fame. That's not why you do it. You do it because you love it. And I don't know if I know anybody who loves sport and loves kids in sport and playing sport more than this man. Please welcome the newest inductee into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame, Colin Graham.
lot of pages, but there's not. I assure you, it's not going to be long. Pardon me. My daughter printed it off for me in big print, and I'm not sure what she was trying to get at. How's that? Better? Good. But with the big print, I only wish we had this back when we were doing sports feed. With all those scores. It was amazing. But we got through it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for attending tonight's Aurora Sports Hall of Fame ceremony. When I was told I had been nominated and won for the Builder Contributor Award category, I was stunned and taken back. And by taken back, I mean really taken back. I think all week I was in awe of what just happened. It took me back to my younger years of playing hockey with my brother, to get married and move into Aurora, to having kids who wanted to be hockey players, figure skaters, lacrosse players, or baseball players. And not only watching them grow in sport, but being actively involved in making the game and challenging the competitiveness of the ball. Since the executive of Ashoff contacted me early in May of this year, I've been going through old pictures and bringing back memories which were very fond, and sharing stories with family and friends, reminiscing about the good times we had, from the winter games to the summer game sports. Kids growing up together, parents cheering them on. Many wonderful people I have met along the way, who've also volunteered and volunteered their time to keep their kids involved in the sports as well. And many kids I have nurtured and encouraged to fill their dreams of playing are at their highest potential. When I came to Aurora, the town was already established as, hockey town. And so there was no lacrosse. Lacrosse was just beginning to form. So I signed my kids up wherever they wanted to play, and they got involved. And then I got involved. My son James wanted to play hockey, so I coached and then managed and then became treasurer of the Aurora Minor Hockey Association. My eldest daughter, she wanted to figure skate. Well, I will admit, I was out of my realm. I have 7 siblings myself, and one of them never took up figure skating. But you kept at it, Lenny, and eventually mastered the triple axel lutz and jump. Is that it? Am I saying it right? Oh, well, that's going to be out of my realm. My youngest daughter, Tracy, well, she wanted to play hockey, like her big brother. What? Get a little bit old here in the tooth, you know what, my fingers are gone. And as my good friend Lola Clenny commentated during a local broadcasting of her first hosting game at the age of 8, she was the tiniest, toughest little girl, and with the golden hair out there fighting for the puck along the boards. So my journey with her in boys hockey started, and later involved in the girls hockey team, and eventually to the AGHA. And lucky for me, all of them wanted to play lacrosse. So our summers were spent back in the local arena, playing the sport we all loved as a family. At this time, I would like to thank the following people and organizations for this gracious honor. To the ASHA Board of Directors, who continue to be involved in the development and growth of sports in Aurora, your hard work helps give kids a chance to play the game. To the nomination committee for their dedication in honoring the people in Aurora, such as myself and fellow inductees for their countless hours to help keep sports strong in the community. To the sponsors of Sport in Aurora, without your donations organizations would be struggling to play the game. To my sponsor, Armadale Properties, who contributed to my induction into the Hall of Fame. To the town of Aurora, to the good mayor, members of council, and all town employees who work diligently to have soccer fields, baseball diamonds, gymnasiums, tennis courts, swimming pools, and hockey rinks ready for every sporting season. To my fellow inductees, for making these past 8 months another great memory for me to cherish. To the sports beat, Aurora cast and crew, for their dedication in reporting every different sport event that Aurora had to offer. To Ryan, Alicia, Courtney, Jared, and Rod Black for their guidance and expertise over the last 7 months. And to the organizations I was a member of, the Aurora Minor Hockey Association, the Aurora Minor Lacrosse Association, and the Aurora Girls Hockey Association, now called the Central York Girls Hockey Association. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to grow with your organizations, just as my kids grew too. I was asking for help, but I don't like to, you know. I should have those little rubber things at the end of my fingers. And to many countless volunteers, past and present of the organization, many of whom are in attendance tonight, who share the same passion I do for kids to play sport in Ontario. I would now like to draw my attention to my thanks to my wonderful, supportive family, to my 3 children, James, Lynn, Tracy, for eagerly wanting to be involved in so many various sporting activities in Aurora throughout their young lives, and for allowing me to tag along for the ride and more than just their chauffeur. To their spouses and the children, all 7 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, and another on the way, who I know will be a Leafs fan forever. And probably a Michigan fan too, knowing the family role. Family loves Michigan. I don't know why. This will probably be the only time I will ever say this to all of you, so make sure you tape it. Mark, go blue. You branch out to other games such as football, soccer, rugby, basketball, baseball, synchronized skating, softball, and even new sporting events such as flag football and ultimate frisbee. To them I say thanks for wanting me to cheer you on from the sidelines and after I retire from my years of volunteering in the sporting world. And lastly, I would like to thank my wife, Bernadette, for being by my side for 56 years of marriage, and an even bigger accomplishment of trekking around the hockey rink with me for the last 59 years. But seriously, thank you for the many, many quickly made dinners that we could catch the team bus heading out of town for the next rep hockey game, or the late night pickups from the subway so I could attend the executive meeting of the hockey down in Toronto. For hockey to grow and evolve throughout the GTA, we all needed to do something for girls hockey, which we did. Girls hockey grew in abundance. When I left girls hockey, we give the reins to Lower Lakes girls hockey. North Metro girls hockey grew from 75 teams to over 300 teams. And that runs from so that's a lot of time for me being away, so I do thank you, sweetheart. And for being my navigator in our 11-seater van with 9 kids in the back, 3 of our own, and the rest of our achievements of somebody. I am truly grateful for your love, support, encouragement, guidance throughout these many wonderful years. And most importantly, keep me grounded in the bigger game we call life. And of course, a big thank you to the kids in the community. Because of you, Aurora will always be a sporting town. Thank you, and enjoy the celebration of sport in Aurora.
Congratulations, Colin, Bernadette. You get to share that sweater. You wear it Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. You look good in that, Colin. You look great. Tracy and the other brothers and sisters. It's nice that they got a mention. That was kind of good, too. You guys all getting along? You okay? I'm proud of you and your dad. So, I mean, congratulations. That's, my daughter thanks you. Our daughters, our granddaughters, Panthers, hockey thanks you. Big kids, man. Leafs are up 2-0. Well, they're going to go ahead Vickers. Oh, there they go. It's not over yet. See them play. Warren Riley has 2 goals. Just want to let you know. Okay, to our next inductee, another builder who has done so much for this sport, women's softball, girls softball, was a softball player in her time, and then obviously fell in love with the game and has won so many awards and been inducted into so many halls. And the beauty of baseball and softball is that, what's the idea? What's the main idea? Get ahead, right? But to get home. To get home. Do you know where home is? Where Lois Thompson? The Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Take a look.
Lois Thompson was born in Drayton, Ontario.
So she grew up in a small farming community in Ontario, Drayton, and then had a desire to get out of that small community, and she joined the Air Force. And so she had to move, and she did all of her different things in the Air Force where she met my dad. And he got a job. It's called Litton Systems Canada. It was a big company in Etobicoke. And they couldn't really afford to live in the city, so they did rent a house in Richmond Hill, but wanted to own. And I guess they liked the general neighborhood, and they found a house in Aurora that they kind of liked and could afford. And so they packed up their rental home from Richmond Hill, came into Aurora, and he was still able to commute to work, and it kind of worked for them. And she lives in the same house today as they lived in then. Before my sister and I were born, and even when we were quite small, as soon as they moved into Aurora, she found the ladies' league, and she signed right up, and she played shortstop. And I'm like, Mom, you played like it's a very key position in softball. It's where the action is. And I'm like, Mom, you were the shortstop. And she goes, oh yeah. And I said, so why did you stop playing? She said, well, once you and Cheryl started to play a lot of ball, there was no room for her to play. So she gave up the playing, and she went into the organization side of things. My parents had 2 children, and we were a little bit of a distance apart, almost 4 years, so we never played on the same team. So usually, I think my dad was the first one who was coaching, and my mother was the organizer. She would be the convener and would handle all the details, finances, getting the teams organized, all that sort of thing. But because my sister and I both played, there were times where they both had to coach. So my dad did most of the coaching because my mother enjoyed the, well, I call it administrative, but it's the organizing, making sure they had pitches, that there were umpires, that uniforms were ordered, and she's a business person, so she enjoyed that more.
Lois has been the secretary and treasurer for the Aurora Diggers from 1979 until today.
I think without Lois, there would be no Aurora Diggers. So, unquestionably, I mean, she's put so much into it, and there's been so many people. Normally, when your child is finished playing ball, you leave that sport altogether, and somebody else steps in. So every 5 or 6 years, you have a turnover of volunteers. Well, with Lois, it's always been consistent. She's been there for over 40 years, and she knows the foundation and the structure, and we just keep building upon that, making it a stronger association. And I think that's something that she can be proud of, that she's helped build from the ground up.
In 1980, Lois founded the North York Women's Softball Association and became the treasurer to enable softball to continue.
The local towns used to play in a league, but that was stopping. So if there's nowhere to play, there's no teams. So she was very motivated to ensure that the Aurora teams would still have somewhere to play. So she went out and said, we need a place to play. Would you be interested in putting teams in?
She also became a member of the Provincial Women's Softball Association to broaden the opportunities for players on a higher level. The town of Aurora awarded her the Bob Harmon Memorial Award in 1986 for outstanding personal contribution in the field of recreation for the town of Aurora. Lois was the treasurer of the Provincial Women's Softball Association for 15 years. In the 90s and into the 2000s, she was part of Softball Ontario, leading Ontario teams to 3 medals, including a gold in 2001 at the Canada Summer Games. During this time, she became the treasurer of Softball Ontario and remained until 2015.
So Team Ontario is where they take the best athletes from Ontario and they make up a softball team, kind of like a Team Canada type of thing. So being involved in that is very high level and very time consuming and demanding, but she managed to do that and still do the digger stuff on the side.
I would think the thing that resonated with me the most was when she was involved with Team Ontario going to the Canada Games. I would think about that. It's like, hey kids, Grandma's dealing with Team Ontario to the Canada Games. Like, she's helping make sure the kids are picked, that they are all the training is ready to go. And that's a big deal. This is a woman from a little farming town, and she lives in Aurora. That's nothing compared to the big city. And she has moved her way into these organizations and has proven that she's valuable. And I know that's a pretty big deal to see her in those pictures at the Canada Games, and I thought that's pretty neat.
In 1995, the Provincial Women's Softball Association honored her with the Volunteer of the Year Award. In 1999, 2000, 2003, 2007, and 2010, she received the Ontario Volunteer Service Award for her outstanding and steadfast volunteerism. For many years, Lois and her family ran bingo nights to raise funds for the teams. She strongly believed that no child should be prevented from playing because of lack of finances. Lois has been recognized by the PWSA on multiple occasions, including awards for service in 2001 and 2004. Later in 2010, she was recognized for 25 years of service.
And the joy she gets is to watch the kids play and to see them learn the game and to improve and to want to come back next year. All the other stuff is just the stuff you have to do to make it happen.
In 2006, she was awarded the Sport Alliance of Ontario Rolf Lund Ulanisa Award for Playground to Podium Commitment to Sport. Lois saw the need for a house league and started the House League Aurora Diggers Association. In 2010, Lois Thompson was awarded the Canadian Amateur Softball Association Service Award and the Softball Canada Outstanding Service Award. During National Volunteer Week in 2013, Lois was given the Outstanding Volunteer Achievement Award. She was awarded the PWSA Rose Hodgson Award in 2016 for going above and beyond. That wasn't the end of it. In 2017, Lois was elected into the Softball Ontario Hall of Fame in the Builder category, and she managed to keep it quiet. Not many people knew about it.
She doesn't do it for the accolades for herself, so nobody knew. Absolutely nobody knew. I just happened to stumble across that. So she's had all these awards in her lifetime, and she never tells anybody.
In 2018, Lois Thompson received the 40-Year Service Award from the town of Aurora. These awards don't begin to showcase the dedication and commitment and impact Lois has had on softball players in Aurora and beyond.
You know, she encourages everybody to get involved in the sport, to volunteer, to put in your time. She's there to help every child. A lot of the women that are out there today played with the Diggers, and now their daughters are playing with the Diggers. They're so involved, and it just promotes the sport. There's thousands of young girls out there that have gone through the program that she's encouraged and helped over her years. And I think that's her biggest asset, is she's just such a wonderful person to mentor other people.
All those teams form friendships that they still have today and experiences that turn them into young women that are capable. So parents, coaches. So I think if you think of the amount of time and the number of young girls who came into the association, I gotta say, they've all benefited from her work. In fact, at my dad's funeral, I met one of my former players, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, your mom and dad, they got me through my teenage years." It was, and I'm like, really? I didn't know, I was a kid. But she came and said, I just needed to come because of what they meant to me. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And that's pretty special.
Lois, on behalf of the Aurora Diggers Girls Softball Association, we'd like to congratulate you on your induction into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work.
Mom, hi there. I'm not there in person, but I wanted to congratulate you on this wonderful recognition. It's so well deserved. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations.
And now, in recognition of her role as builder and contributor to softball in Aurora and beyond, we are proud to welcome Lois Thompson as part of the 2021 class of inductees into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame.
She has put the dig in Diggers. My goodness. The queen of the Diggers. Lois Thompson, dear Tom Rockets, will you come up? Congratulations, Lois. What the hell haven't you won? You're like the Meryl Streep of sports. You won every award. If you go to her house, she has the Lois Thompson Hall of Fame. Gosh. I think you won more awards than everybody here, come on. And hasn't told anyone. That's a lot. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome to the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame 2021. King of the Diggers. Volunteer for life has done so much. Lois Thompson.
First time I
nomination, and the selection committee for accepting it. And lastly, the Hall of Fame committee that made this special evening possible. When I received the phone call from Stephen, I was quite surprised, to say the least. And I thought to myself, oh my, really? However, as requested, I proceeded to go through all the stuff that I had accumulated over the years, and I have to admit that I really enjoyed taking that trip down memory lane. Recently, someone asked me if I had actually played the game of softball, and of course the answer is yes. My first experience was when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and after school, a bunch of us used to gather at a small park in town and play ball. I think they let me play because they needed the numbers, but still, never got enough to form 2 teams, so we played what we called step-up ball. We only had 1 bat and 1 ball, but we made do. I guess that was probably when I got hooked with the game of softball. When my husband and I moved to Aurora in Centennial year and bought our first home, we used to drop around to the town park once in a while and watch the men's league play ball. And I remember thinking, how come there wasn't a ladies' league? It wasn't long before word was put out to see if there were any ladies in Aurora interested in playing softball. Lo and behold, there was enough to form 4 teams. Thus, the Aurora Ladies Softball League was formed, and Wednesday night became the ladies' night out to play ball. I'm happy to report that after 40 plus years, you can still drop by Town Park on a Wednesday night during the summer. As soon as our 2 girls were old enough, we signed them up to play Aurora minor ball. As conscientious parents, of course, we offered to help. Well, that was our introduction to coaching, convening, and even sometimes officiating when there wasn't enough volunteers. And just so you know, if I remember correctly, we paid about $5 to register our kids. And I can remember gathering up all the bloody uniform tops at the end of the season, washing them all up and taking them to Pat Ferguson at the community center to store. As many of you know, coaching can be a challenge. And at the time, there were no clinics available and no internet to Google how to run a good practice. So it was a struggle, but we gave it our best shot. As the girls improved their skills, we decided it was time to maybe take the next step and move up into the more competitive ball. And thus our team became one of the Aurora Diggers teams. When the girls grew up and became more independent, we gave up coaching. I realized that I would now have more time, so I began to get involved with the provincial women's softball. As a board member, you were expected to work at least 3 tournaments every summer. Well, over the years, I attended a multitude of tournaments in towns and cities from Oshawa to Windsor and north to Sudbury, in all the age groups from U10 right through to senior ladies. I welcomed the opportunity to meet countless numbers of players, coaches, and parents, and I cherished the lasting friendships that I made. I had the opportunity on 3 occasions to coordinate the girls' U16 division that competed at the Ontario Summer Games. It was also my privilege to work with the more elite athletes selected to play on our Ontario teams that competed in the Canada Summer Games. Some of those players were fortunate enough to be selected to our national team and have competed internationally and eventually in Olympic Games. I've had many special memories from all those events, but it was extra special when the Canadian women's softball team won their first medal at the Olympics this past summer. Unfortunately, skipped a bit. After 25 plus years on the board of provincial women's softball and 15 years as treasurer of Softball Ontario, I decided that perhaps it was time to semi-retire and free up some time to enjoy those things that seniors do during their golden years. Unfortunately, things did not work out quite as planned, and I am still, as I still am an executive member of the local association, I am grateful that I'm still able, in a small way, to contribute facilitating softball for the girls in Aurora. If you ask me why I stayed on so long in the softball world, I really don't have an answer. Although in all my volunteer activities throughout my life, I had a rule that if I no longer enjoyed what I was doing, then it was time to pack it up and move on to something else. All I can say is I still enjoy grabbing my lawn chair and heading to the park and watching a ball game. For those of you here tonight, if you have any youth in your family circle, I urge you to encourage them to sign up for a sport that they think they might enjoy, as they will not only benefit from some healthy physical activity, but they'll make many new friends, and most of all, the life lessons learned will be invaluable to them as they journey through life. Although I do not have any family here tonight, and I'm quite glad after listening to my young daughter and all of her carrying on there. She lives out in Vancouver, it's a good place. Anyway, I'm thankful that some of my softball friends are here to help me enjoy this special occasion. I just want to say that it's truly an honor for me, and I'm very proud to be a member of Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Lois Thompson for Prime Minister. Just saying. Just saying. Congratulations, Lois, and for what you've done for kids in sport. That last message is everything. Get your kids involved in sport, get them to love the sport, and if they don't love that sport, pick up another sport. Try to find another one to love. It's nice to see the mayor and the future mayor of Aurora sitting together. You got to bring her into the office. Tom, I'm telling you. It's unbelievable. And our final inductee, last but not least, from the great sport of hockey, where his team is trailing right now to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Quick story on this man. I don't know, I'm sure I'm showing the vintage. How many of you, older men or women, had Esso power play cards? Remember when you went to Esso? Yeah. So you used to go to Esso, and if you filled your tank up, they gave you like these cards, and you unfold them. You ripped them open, and you had to see who was inside. Kind of like what they do at Tim Hortons now, only you didn't have to buy coffee, you just had to spend. At that time, it was about $10 for a tank of gas. Crazy. So I grew up in Winnipeg, and my dad would go all the time, and we have to go for gas. We'd have to fill it up every day because it's so cold there. You have to, let's warm the car up. And there's only 2 cards that was missing from my power play book, because you had to fill the book up. Only 2 cards were missing. And they were both from the New York Rangers. Walt Kachuk, which was really hard to get, and Steve Vickers. And for the longest time, I was the guy, I was lucky I got the Walt Kachuk, and I had one to get. And I'll never forget, I should actually hug you, because it was the greatest day of my life. My dad came home, opened it up, and there it was. Little young boy, I think it was like about 10. It was like, oh my gosh, I got my Steve Vickers power play card. And tonight, it gives me great honor to actually see you here and tell you that story, because you made my year. That was a birthday, that was a Christmas. You filled my book, Steve, you filled my book. You never got one. I'll give you mine. You gave me a great gift, and I'll give you one back. We've got a lot of hockey players in the room and in the hall, and the hockey players always have nicknames like Kitch and Murph, Palmy, Gartz, Dave and his son Ryan, who are here, and Sarge. I'll have to tell us about that one as well. Please welcome an NHL Rookie of the Year. Was not a Lone Ranger, but a great Ranger. And he's in the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Mr. Steve Vickers.
He was always at the right place at the right time. This could be said about Stephen James Vickers on the ice back in the day. Fondly known as Sarge, Vickers undoubtedly left his mark on the sport of ice hockey. Steve Vickers was born in Toronto in 1951, and as a young man he played for the Markham Waxers in the Ontario Junior Hockey League in the 1968-69 season, winning the Sutherland Cup. He went on to play with the Toronto Marlboros.
Steve's one of those unsung players that people you don't pay a whole lot of attention to until the end of the night, when you realize he scored goals, made plays, and was tough. So he was a rare commodity in the sport. And when he came up to the Marlies to play, he made a huge impact on our team. We had a very good team. A lot of players moved up to play in the NHL. And Steve played with two gentlemen named Graham Wise and Gavin Kirk, and they were like our third line. But what they really were was our best line. So they might have been our third line, but they were our best line. So other teams would pay attention to Dale Talon and Steve Shutt and Bill Harris and some of the excellent players we had on our team. And not a lot of teams paid attention to that third line with Vickers, Kirk, and Wise. And they dominated games. They were just such a great line, such great cohesion, and made us one of the best teams in the league. In fact, we probably should have won the Memorial Cup. We got beat by a very good team in Montreal that year, but we were the second best team in Canada. That particular series went 7 games, and it was a real close, tough series, but Vickers' line was one of the best lines, not only in that series, but in junior hockey that year.
Vickers played with the Toronto Marlboros for 2 years, scoring an impressive 43 goals in his final year. He caught the eye of the scouts and was selected number 10 in round 1 of the 1971 amateur draft.
We were playing in Tulsa, Oklahoma for Omaha back when we were just boys, just before I got traded. He just arrived in Omaha. And the scouts who had scouted both of us and drafted us to the Rangers came by our pregame meal, and Steve was eating French fries at the pregame meal, which was like back in the day, it was a no-no. You shouldn't be having French fries. And the scouts scolded him, like, you can't be eating like that, you're gonna be ineffective, you're not gonna feel it tonight, you're not gonna move. So Steve was kind of humbled and kind of embarrassed by the whole thing, which you naturally are, because one of your bosses is kind of bitching on you. And anyway, Steve proceeded to go out that night and get 5 goals. So I think French fries became the order of the day for him after that. So we laugh at that to this day. Yeah, I got 5 that night, no big deal.
Steve Vickers joined the Central Professional Hockey League's Omaha Knights in Nebraska and took to the ice with the New York Rangers in Detroit on October 7th, 1972.
He was just a real impactful player, and the way he played was, he had a very unique style. Like, Steve was a bulldog on his skates. You couldn't knock him down. He was great in front of the net, great tipping pucks. He would score goals from right in what we call the dirty areas of hockey, like around the crease, in the blue ice. And he was tough. So not only was he able to get to those places, he was able to maintain his positioning, because Steve was strong and tough, and people gave him room because they knew he was. And he played with 2 guys, Walter Tkachuk and Bill Fairburn, who, once again, they didn't get all the attention, but they might have been the best line the Rangers had, even though they had Rattel, Gilbert, and Hatfield, who are pretty prominent guys, and I believe all of them are Hall of Fame players. And yet that second line of Tkachuk, Fairburn, and Vickers was just a dominant line, and they pieced together perfectly, you know, with their style of play was just in perfect harmony with making them so good. And again, Steve, kind of unsung hero on a team and on a line, but he was a key component because he could score, and guys who can score are a rarity back then and even to this day.
Vickers scored hat tricks in 2 consecutive games, on November 12th against the LA Kings and November 17th against the Philadelphia Flyers at Madison Square Gardens, the home of the New York Rangers.
Well, Steve was a guy who didn't transport the puck much. So he would go to open ice, particularly in the offensive zone, and be in a position to capitalize on the hard work of the winger or the excellent playmaking skill of a center. And with the Rangers, guys like Tkachuk and Fairburn filled those bills. So Steve provided that finish to a line that you have to have.
72 was a big year for Vickers as left wing for the Rangers. Wearing the number 8 jersey for the Rangers, he set an NHL record for most consecutive hat tricks by a rookie, won the Calder Memorial Trophy, and landed the title of Sporting News NHL Rookie of the Year.
The most consecutive hat tricks by a rookie is an incredible accomplishment. First of all, getting any goal in the NHL is incredibly difficult. To get 3 in one game is sometimes a lifetime achievement for players. Multi goals in individual games, and that's a difficult task. And again, I know Steve, and he would give credit to his teammates, he'd give credit to his centerman, he'd give credit to the coach for putting him in a position to accomplish that. Well, I think Steve was an extremely intense player because almost every night he played the same way, which isn't easy. As I mentioned earlier, he's a very humble player. Like Steve passed off his accomplishments to other teammates.
Vickers earned 58, 89, and 83 points the next 3 years, and played on the NHL All-Star second team for the 1974-75 season, alongside Phil Esposito, Bobby Orr, and Guy Lafleur. Vickers also played for the Campbell Conference team in the NHL All-Star Games in 1975 and 1976. Continuing his streak of high-scoring years with tenacity and consistency, he kept his focus on his strengths.
They always used to joke when he played, they'd go to celebrate and he was already on the bench after a goal. I was like, where's Sarge? Where'd he go? And he's already on the bench, up next, just getting ready for his next shift.
On February 18, 1976, he scored 3 goals and 4 assists for a 7-point night against the Washington Capitals, a Ranger record that still remains. On April 3, 1982, Vickers played his final NHL game and went on to oversee the Rangers Alumni Association. In 1983, he co-founded the New York Rangers Alumni Annual Golf Outing. In 2009, in the book 100 Ranger Greats, he was named number 18 on their list. Steve and his wife Joanna moved to Aurora in 1987 and raised their 3 children here. They were active in their children's sports and behind the scenes with fundraising. Steve called on his experience and coached their hockey teams in Aurora.
He's a pretty humble guy, but I remember growing up, he would never let me beat him in ping pong. That was always, that was one of his things that probably helped him keep his competitive edge. If he couldn't be out on the ice, chasing around guys like Bobby Orr and Bobby Clark, I guess beating his son up in ping pong was the next best thing.
Steve, I couldn't be happier to congratulate you first and foremost on your induction into the Aurora Hall of Fame. It's a great privilege. I know you and Joanne are going to have a great night, and we're proud to sit alongside you. Terrific job.
Hey, Dad. Jimmy here, obviously. I just want to give you a heartfelt congratulations for becoming a member of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Couldn't happen to a better person. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I love you.
And now, in recognition of his athletic achievements in the sport of ice hockey, we are proud to welcome Mr. Stephen James Vickers as part of the 2021 class of inductees into the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame.
notice that you played James Bond in a couple of those movies. That was pretty good. You have a good mustache, though. We gotta get black as well, Steve. You know how movies together. One of the NHL greats, one of the Ranger greats, now a member of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Please welcome Steve Vickers.
Thank you, Rod. I was actually a Leaf fan until I was 20 years old. Anyway, I want to thank the inductees today. I want to thank you and congratulations to everything you've done for the people of Aurora and all over. Congratulations. I didn't know I was that good, actually. Thank you for that, Mike. Appreciate that, Mike. I played with Mike, I guess, at Marley's in Omaha, Nebraska. We got around, and of course, with the New York Rangers. So it was great playing with you, and thank you for that nice thing. Thank you. Anyway, when I saw my son there, I kind of a little broke up, so I'm trying to get my composure. But, yes, about 42 years ago, I met a girl, and dated for a few years, maybe 4 years, and she didn't know much about hockey, but she knew more about field hockey, I think. But she went to a game once, and I told her to at Madison Square Garden, and she said, "Well, how long do the games take?" She said, "Well, they take an hour, 60 minutes." So she came down the game, and I was playing, and it was one of those games that was 3 hours long, a lot of fights, and Joanne, so she thought it was only 60 minutes, right? So anyway, I had to explain it to her, but she caught on. We got married, I guess it's 42 years now. And, a lot. People in New York said it would never last, but it certainly has. And I'd like to also, if I can, just my daughter's here. If you can stand up, Jillian. Jillian was actually on the one of the first teams that ladies hockey in 1994, I believe they started, and I have a picture of her at home dropping a puck with Mike Palmentier. So she liked to mix it up a little bit too. I kept telling her, you can't do that in girls hockey. Anyway, Joanne, please stand up, please. That's my wife. My sister would probably kill me, but Debbie, can you please stand up? Debbie, I was the oldest of 6, and Debbie was the only girl, and we didn't really like her because she got her own bedroom. And there's another lady that came along, and I was really good friends with her husband, Bob Nevin. Linda Nevin is here today, and just a good friend. We just say Bob was a great Leaf. They won 2 Stanley Cups with him, and he actually, before I got his number when I got to number 8, and he just been traded. But he was the captain of the Rangers for 6. He had a great career, 18 years rather, and he was captain for about 6 years for the Rangers. He was was one of those guys that had to cover Bobby Hall and all the Frank Muhammad's, all the big left wingers. That was his job, and he did it well. We've been in Aurora for 35 years, and Joanne actually convinced me to moving there. So I never thought I'd leave New York, right? But, for some reason, we thought about it, and most of my family was here in Scarborough, and she didn't have many people in Iowa, just her mother and her sister. So we made the move, the bold move. We packed up the car and we drove over, and we've been in Aurora ever since. So we really loved it because kids loved it. It was all about the kids. We had 3 kids, ages 6, 5, and 3, I guess, and they just melded into. They loved it here. They loved seeing their cousins. They loved all that was happening in Aurora. I think it was only about 14,000 people then, but there was a lot of children around, and that's what we wanted, you know. So it really worked out. And they played soccer, baseball, golf, hockey, of course, and all 3 of them. And I even played a little bit. I played pickup hockey, and I think I saw Steve Sonora here with the Aurora Old Chiefs. Anyway, he's gone. Anyway, I played with the Old Chiefs hockey, and then played with the Old Colts. Well, where are they? There's a couple of them. There they are. There. Phil's here. Yeah, Phil was one of them. Anyway, but I retired from hockey. Big hockey. I retired about 4 years ago. When 60-year-olds are skating rings around me, I thought it was time. But we got the 2 hat tricks there, and I was the first to do it ever, I guess. I didn't know that for about 10 years after that, because I didn't have any really good records. And the 7 point was against Washington. I think Washington won 8 games that year, and Montreal lost 8 games that year. So they didn't have a good team, but 7 points. And Rod, when you said it was 5 goals, I also had 3 assists in that game too. But who's counting? Anyway, when you get like that, like you said, we had I love playing both 2-way hockey. I just loved it. My favorite part of the game was protecting the 2-1 lead, 3-2 lead, in the last 5 minutes of the game. I just loved that part. And so I had good teammates that are line mates, Walter Kachuk and Billy Fairbairn, very unselfish. You know, they just want to win. And that's what hockey's about. That's what all sports should be, right? Because it's a team. And Gretzky, that year too, Gretzky got, this brought me back to earth. Gretzky got, he got, here it says here, yeah, he got 4 goals, 1 game, 5 the next. So he blasted that out of the water, right? So that brought me down to earth. And then the time I got the 7 points, Sittler just got 10. Big deal, right? So he's going to target with 7 points. But and it was good to see Murph, Mike Kitchen, Dave and Ryan. Is Ryan here, partner? I haven't seen him. But his dad is David. David played with the Marlies. Of course, he was a great team player. And had I think didn't you win the red, what was it called, the red? You won the Stone Award. What was it? Best player in Canada. Best player, junior player in Canada.
Because I sat beside you.
Aurora?
Yeah, you want to tell them the story about doing up the skate?
No.
Well, I'll finish it. I went to, first time I'm in the dressing room with Vic. I sit beside him, he hits me on the side. I'm going to do up my right skate. He's going to do up, he wants to do up his left skate first. And he hits me on the side. He says, "Hey, Brooke," he says, "listen, you do up your left skate when I'm doing up my left skate. You do up your right when I'm doing up my right."
That's pretty big.
And I'm scared as hell. I was like, "Oh, yes, sir."
You're a rookie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, until about halfway through the season, then you said you could do it up whatever skate you want.
Yeah, when you were running away the scoring championship. I like to do that.
Yeah, that part gets me out.
I played with some great hockey players in here. There's no question about it. I mean, we had the team that win a cup, maybe 2 in, but we just couldn't get over that hurdle. I played with Phil Esposito, Roger Bear, Eddie Chuckman, Brad Parker, John Rattel. I mean, Rod died there a couple of months ago, but he was such a great player, such an influence on me. People loved him. He loved the game. When you hang around with people like that, it's going to rub off. You can't help it. And also played with against players like Gretzky, Orr, Lafleur, Leon. These guys were good. Hall of Famers. And I still get asked today, who's better, Bobby Orr or Wayne Gretzky? And I say, you know what, I don't really know because I couldn't catch either one of them. You know, but it's not all fun and games. I mean, you risk injuries, you hate to lose, but you do. Some years you just don't have it. And also, we had a team that was running rampant at the Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers. We had to play them 8 times a year because they were in our division. That was a lot of fun. You have guys that, they have nicknames: the Moose, the Hammer, the Hound, the Big Head Bird, the Big Bird. They're going to be in for a fight. And they had good, but they also had a real good hockey team too. But it was tough hockey, and it's not. I don't think it's as violent as it is today. Luckily, you can't get away with a lot of things now. I forgot about Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe. I played 1 game with him. He was in the WHA, and I was in the NHL. So he came back to play in the NHL. Won last year. I was 29. He was 51. And playing the last game, the only one game, was in Springfield, Massachusetts, because the roof of the Hartford roof caved down from the snow. So I go up to Carol Badney. I was scared playing against Gordie Howe. I heard all about the elbows and taking guys' teeth out and all this stuff, and I was really afraid. But I remember I asked Carol Badney, who's our one of our defensemen. He says, "Dad, so you played against Gordie Howe. You got any tips for me?" I'm going, I'm a left winger, he's a right winger. I mean, we're going to dance sometime, but it's not going to be fun. And I'll never forget it. He says, "I'll tell you what, when Gordie goes on the ice, you come off the ice." and then when Gordie comes off the ice, then you can go on the ice. You'll be okay. I said, "Sounds good to me." Anyway, I'm happy just to have my teeth. One of the things I'm very happy about. I guess I knew in the duck. And also, anyway, at the end there, I just want to say that Barclay Goodrow, he plays for the New York Rangers now. He just became the Athlete of the Year in Aurora. Anybody know that? Came through the wire. That's great. I wish him much luck. Getting a lot of goals, especially in the garden. And thank you for coming. I thank Javed for having me. For everybody that worked with Javed to put this together, it was wonderful. And thank you very much.
Congratulations to Steve Vickers. Great stories. Thanks, guards, for chipping in. That was good. Next year's host. I love Dave Gardner. Love it. I don't know what you, it's just such a wonderful night to get so many friends of sport, friends of the community, all in the same room, and to celebrate, and to learn things, like you could win a fishing rod. I couldn't imagine Novak Djokovic getting a fishing rod these days, but and how cherished that fishing rod would have been through the years. To know how much you've done, Lois, for women's softball, and to know the Spitfire that you are, and to know that you inspired that Diggers organization, and how you are the queen of the Diggers. That name will live on forever, that Diggers name, and you're a big part of it. So congratulations. And Colin, I think you should resurrect Sports Beat again. I really do. I really do. And to know that what you've done for girls and women's hockey is remarkable. And Steve put an incredible career. And to know the humility, I think that says a lot about the athlete. The humility that you can have, that you can walk away, and you can walk to the bench or skate to the bench when you score a goal, but to do all the things you do and so humbly accept this award. All of you, by the way, not only get your sweaters, right? You get that plaque. You get a brand new car. No. You get a car. Tony Van Minen, the MP from the area. Every one of you has received a notation from our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, congratulating you on your day. And on our way out, every one of us will receive our third booster shot. So, to be inducted into a hall, I don't think you ever thought you'd get into a Hall of Fame, any Hall of Fame. I mean, that's glorious. And I do know that we've been through a lot, and I know our kids have been through a lot. And life is bigger than sport, let's face it. I mean, it's so good to be in a room. Yeah, we have to wear masks. Yeah, we have to be social distant. But, there a lot of people have suffered much more. Families, businesses, they lost a lot during this last 2 years. It's been horrendous. But you know what the great thing about sport is? It brings us together. Not even a pandemic could douse the spirit of the community to hold a Hall of Fame induction. Now, I know you don't have 2020 as inductees, but I want to make a proposal to you, gentlemen, and committee. Because our kids have had to endure so much and haven't been able to play. And now they're back. If you've been to the rinks, if you've been to the parks, if you've been to the gyms, you've been everywhere. That joy is back. That joy is unbridled, unwavering. It will never, ever die. Not even a pandemic can take that away. I propose that someday, the class of 2020 will be all the athletes of Aurora. All the athletes, every kid who played every single sport or couldn't play a sport. Someday you're going to have to remember that. They're going to go, that's an asterisk. You didn't have that year. No, that was the year that they became stronger. That was the year that they came together. And on the other side, they all became Hall of Famers and champions. I hope that happens someday. We're getting out of this. It's so good to see everybody. Congratulations to our Hall of Fame members. You're in great class. You look great in those sweaters. Join the club, everybody. Join the club. Thank you. Here's Chad.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Black. Rod's been doing this for a few years now. Rod, can't thank you enough. You're such an entertainer, comedian, politician, sports broadcaster, an award-winning sports broadcaster. And wherever your next journey is, Rod, we're with you 100%. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. What an outstanding induction celebration we've had tonight, honoring the class of 2021. we are wrapping up our formal portion of this evening, and I invite you to join us in the next room to raise a glass, enjoy some coffee and dessert, enjoy some more live music with Bill Nadeau, courtesy of Bell Manor Aurora and Music Aurora. Folks, this is also an opportunity to take photos, mingle, get your programs signed by the new honored members, and just simply celebrate. We have this hall until God knows when, but it's actually 11 o'clock. The silent auction, by the way, closes at 9:30, so it's coming up. So keep on bidding. We'll also be drawing for that jewelry courtesy of Van Bosch Jewelers, so ensure you get your tickets for that. And one last thing, you all received your programs. So this is an initiative from Lisa McDonald, and thank Lisa for this. It was great. So you all received your initiatives, your program. So between 5 and 7 p.m. on November 25th, go to the town hall parking lot. No joke, this is the real deal. Go to the parking lot of the town hall, you're going to all receive, if you bring your program guide, you all will receive either a complimentary jar of pickles or pickled vegetables. And Lisa McDonald put these together, so thank you for that. Now folks, real quick, as we wrap up the portion of the evening, I want to say special thanks to event sponsors. They are listed in the program guide. I definitely want to end the evening with a very special thanks to the Induction Celebration Dinner Committee. And those members are the following. Please just hold your applause at the end. We've got honored member Paulina Allen, Dan Coldwell, honored member Alan Dean, honored member Ryan Gardner, Chan Kemp, Michael Roy, author now, Melanie Teague, Dave Tom, me, Cassidy Event Management, Courtney Cassidy, and Heather DeSanto. And a very, very special thanks, folks, because without these volunteers, the following volunteers I'm going to announce, the sponsors and everything that we did last night, tonight, and future would not happen, and that's our Cornerstone Committee. They're led by Mike Smith, with his members Stu Bundy, Rob Green, and Dave Tom. So folks, one last applause for the class of 2021, class of inductees, who now can be called the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame honored members.